Hello everyone, my name is Luke Carman and I'm going to be reading to you a short extract from a long story from my new collection, An Ordinary Ecstasy. The story itself is called Tears on Main Street and it's a picaresque, told in the first person from the point of view of an unnamed narrator who's in deep denial about his broken heart. But the hero of the story is actually a man with the improbable name of Augustine, who, as you'll see from this extract, has transformed himself at the midpoint on his life's journey into a fighting man in order to exact revenge on the indignities of youth. I hope you enjoy. And I'd like to dedicate this reading to anyone who's never had a reading dedicated to them before. When August arrived, it was evident from the outset how serious the business of revenge had become. When I gathered my bags and stepped outside at the sight of his white sedan pulling up out front my place, I found him face down in the driveway, performing an alternating set of one-arm push-ups with his bare knuckles on the uneven concrete. Startled by this impromptu display of exercise, I dropped my suitcase and waited for him to complete his routine. And once he had ground out the final reps, he leapt to his feet, flushed and slick with sweat despite the cool April air, and stood there as if posing grim and solemn as a Colossus of Rhodes. What a spectacle it was to see him. The sun had not long been up and it shone on his glistening form, revealing the most astonishing transformation of his physical proportions. August's limbs were now covered in copious tattoos. Snakes, spiderwebs, angels, saints, and other mystic miscellany were thick and filled with muscle, and the skin beneath the ink was covered in vascular ribbons. Under the immediate exertions he performed in the driveway, these pulsing channels were full of blood, pumping along the swollen form of his marbled arms. I stepped up to give this transformed version of my good friend an embrace, despite the unappealing thought of touching his sweaty frame. But instead of returning my greeting, August grabbed my arm, spun me around, and captured me in what I would call, without consulting a combat manual, a standing rear naked choke. Some instinct in me for survival attempted to neutralize this attack by launching us both toward the ground. We landed sideways, thudding together on the still dewy lawn. But this countermove only worsened my situation, as August then increased his hold by wrapping his legs around my waist like a pair of tattooed pythons. What could I do but listen in wonder as he said directly into my ear, "You will learn to love again. Now say it." It was a command I could neither dissent from nor submit to, having no capacity of speech or movement in anything other than my arms, which were busied in a futile attempt at pulling apart the chokehold wrapped around my throat. He loosened his grip around my neck and commanded again, "You will learn to love. Say it, swear it." Just as I was gathering the air to agree to this threat, my neighbour, an Italian with age spots where his black hair had once been, appeared at the fence between our front yards, armed with a hose, and he demanded, the strange brute who was attacking his neighbour, to release me at once or he would spray the devil out of him. But both of us, we leapt to our feet, August the faster for the obvious reason that he was supplied with oxygen, and when the power of speech returned and I coughed out some of the terror, I apologised to Tony and attempted to explain to the poor old man that this sudden assault, which had just taken place before his eyes, was an exhibition of skill rather than an attempted murder, an assertion I was not certain was true at the time. "Where have you been?" Tony asked me, after accepting my assurances the stranger was an old friend of mine, a deep furrow of concern on his weather-weary face. The ends of his tracksuit pants, I noticed, dampened by his gardening duties. "Inside, mostly," I explained. He confirmed this himself, saying, "I never see you anymore. Where's your wife?" "Ah, Tony, she left. She's gone." Tony nodded his head and closed his eyes, holding up an open hand that I took to mean say no more. August intruded into the conversation here, saying, "Don't worry, mate, I'll get that heart of his beating again." And from the expression of fear on Tony's face, I saw that he took this to mean that something homosexual was afoot. "Look after the place while I'm away, would you?" I asked, and he nodded his head and returned to watering his roses, but kept a leery watch upon the pair of us as we dusted the dirt and grass of our clothes and packed my bags into the boot of August's Corolla. Thus begins the strange odyssey of Augustine and his one-man war against the bloody tyrant time. Thank you for listening.